in developing and promoting display interface standards. Yeah, the standards, the folks that say, now it's going to work, and this is what you're looking for. And of course, standards that power modern visual experiences. He's a principal engineer with Intel, which tells us there's a lot of companies involved in this organization. Roland Wooster, thanks so much for joining us. How are you, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having us on. We're doing well. It's been a great show so far.
Good. A lot of folks are curious about the standards and what's new and what's been happening. Can you tell us a little bit about VESA, V-E-S-A, first, so that folks understand what this body does?
Yeah, so VESA is a standards organization that's been around 35 years and has just a bit more, and has 340 member companies. So each of those companies might be large companies like Intel, Samsung, LG, Apple, Microsoft, maybe small companies with only 6 people. So we have 340 member companies, and from those companies, tens or maybe 10 or more engineers from each company attending various technical work groups, building open standards. And that's the really critical thing with VESA. All of the standards are open, public standards. We publish the standards to any consumer to download the standard. Sometimes we publish the test tools, even the source code sometimes, to download for the performance evaluation tools. So you can.
These 340 companies get the same 2 cents worth that any bigger company can get, because that's the whole point, is we're discussing standards.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Every company gets 1 vote. So it's a democracy, and we vote with the majority, and that's how we develop the standards.
Very cool. So you're the one representing Intel.
That's right.
And again, all these other 340 member companies have the same say that you do.
Yes.
And they'll say, so Intel didn't get an extra vote or something, same vote.
Right.
So what are we showing here in your Palazzo suite during CES week so that the audience can understand? Of course, we talk about consumer tech. So how will this benefit consumers, what you guys are working on?
Yeah, so VESA is important in driving standards across the display industry. Many people are very familiar with the VESA mount, which was a standard configuration for hanging a display on the wall or on a standard. So since that, we developed DisplayPort and embedded DisplayPort for the protocol of communicating from a GPU to a display to be able to send the signal and reliably receive it and display it on the receiving display.
So in this case, for example, if every company just did their own thing, it would be a mess.
Everything would be 100% proprietary, and you would only be able to buy the same brand of GPU and monitor, and that would be all that would work. But because we have an open standard, you have hundreds of companies, 340 at VESA, that are all collaborating together to build hardware to compliant standards so that the source and the sink, the GPU and the display, work together.
And representing all of our consumer listeners and viewers, thank you. Because can you imagine if one company, if they're still in business or something, you had to only buy stuff or it just wouldn't work. You'd have a nice looking big TV that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's DisplayPort.
Well, that's all of the standards at VESA. Okay. So we standardize and then we publish the standards so that everybody can comply to the same standards and compete fairly using the same performance evaluation.
So after these votes, all member companies agree that's what we're all going to do.
And that's correct, yeah. I mean, they can choose to either build products or not, but those are the specs of the product, indeed. Yeah. So we had DisplayPort, which is the protocol standard for over-the-wire connection. And then more recently, in the last 7-8 years, we developed a front-of-screen performance evaluation standards team. So
front-of-screen performance,
yes,
which
exactly.
Aren't we all on the front of a screen?
That's exactly it. It's much more the human nature of what are you actually seeing on the screen. So instead of evaluating the electrical compliance of what signal is being sent from the GPU to the display and those devices both talking to each other appropriately, this is measuring the actual performance that you, as a human, would see on the screen. So we're measuring the front of the screen using performance tools, measurement tools, in front of the display, just as you would be sitting in front of the display to evaluate.
That include things like color and saturation and brightness and all of that?
All of the above and a lot more.
Okay.
So
Again, makes sense to have standards.
Indeed.
Otherwise, one TV to the other room or something are going to look so different. And it's like, why does it look so different on that channel? But that's not a problem because of those standards.
well, they
Except
do,
how you might adjust your own TV.
well, they do look different because we have different performance evaluation tiers. So you might have a 400 tier or 500 or 1,000. So you can buy higher performance equipment, and that will look different because it's higher performance. You pay a higher price for the higher premium. But those higher performance standards, what we have done has build an industry standard for how to evaluate the performance, so that when you buy a display from one manufacturer and it's meeting a certain performance tier from VESA, if you look at another vendor, they're using the same way of measuring the performance of the display. So as a consumer, you have a super easy way to identify what performance am I looking for and shop to that performance tier. And then you can look at the various different brands, knowing that they've all been evaluated to the same performance tier, and therefore you can just evaluate on other aspects, price or brand preference and such.
But helping all of us as consumers to at least know that we're comparing appropriately.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very good. And there's some cables here in front of us if you want to grab one or two and tell us why they're different.
So the standards that we are launching this week at CES, the first of which is a super long cable standard. So with DP80 low loss cables.
Are these HDMI cables?
These are DisplayPort cables.
Oh, display. Okay, good.
So these are DisplayPort cables, and the key advantage of these DisplayPort cable is they're quite long. This is a 3-meter cable. So previously,
Is that in American language? You have a it's a longer cable.
it's a 10-foot cable.
10 foot. Very good. Thanks.
A 10-foot cable. And previously, the DisplayPort cables were limited in length. And so the new standard that we've launched at CES this year is to take these cables that using the DP80 low loss with active transmitters can extend to 3 meters, and in some cases beyond 3 meters.
Or 10 feet.
Yes, or 10
Just
feet.
throwing that in for most of our audience, including me. We got that. And again, you couldn't use longer cables. What I mean, folks would wonder, why does it look so bad? Well, because you're losing signal on the way to your TV.
That's right, yeah. So if you had a longer cable, it wouldn't be able to transmit at the high frequency and be able to achieve the full bandwidth. And so this standard now achieves that for you.
So we have VESA. A lot of people say it. I've learned differently, but to thank for it.
That's right.
Okay. And other cables, are they similar or?
It's similar, but from other brands. So we have flat cables for laying under a carpet, and we have multiple cables of different lengths from multiple different vendors, all complying to the same standard.
Gotcha. In fact, as Chris panned over, the light started making things shine. It looked like some sort of a Vegas fling.
This is a flat cable.
And that's what's important. You don't want to be stepping over under carpet.
Yeah, exactly. That's for placing in a wall or in a carpet.
And same standards, up to 10 feet or 3 meters?
Yes, 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 indeed. Yes.
Very cool. What else are we missing really quick because we're fast out of time?
Okay, so this is a dual mode monitor. So typically, if you buy a monitor and you're interested in content creation, you want high resolution. If you're interested in gaming, you want high refresh rate.
Okay, so there is a difference, of course.
And there is a difference. And for many people, to get the best in resolution and the best in refresh rate, you can't do that in a single monitor. You have to
pick one.
Pick one, buy two. And so buy two monitors and switch between them. That is inconvenient and expensive. This is a dual mode monitor. So there is a button we can press, if I can find it at this angle, and it will flip the mode from a high refresh rate gaming mode into a high resolution content creation mode in one monitor.
Now that's nice, obviously. I mean, are you using different cables to accomplish that?
Same cable. It's still connected to the same PC. It's switched back on after we...
in the back, it is only one cable connected.
It's one cable, and we're switching the mode, and the hardware inside the display is transitioning between this content creation mode and gaming mode.
So this is new technology that you guys have approved standards for,
This is a new standard that
built
we
into
launched.
monitors.
Yes, this is a standard we launched last year, and products are coming to market. This is a new monitor that's being launched at CES this year.
Very cool. And this is this Clear MR 21,000 or is this something else?
The next demo.
Oh,
But,
okay.
This is the Adaptive Sync version 1.1 dual mode.
Okay, got to remember that 1.1 dual mode, and I see what you're saying too, because we got gamers and content creators standing here, part of our team, and if they use the same monitor, they're not out of luck.
Right, exactly.
Okay, terrific. What else are we?
Let's pan to the monitor on the left. Okay. So this is the Clear MR 21,000 display. So this is a new standard that we are launching at CES this year, and this is a motion blur standard. So the old historical gray to gray standard was unreliable and could be influenced in testing to achieve what results you might like.
I was going to say, why is the bottom couple of lines all fuzzy?
This is comparing frequency. So if you can zoom in close enough, you can see that the top line is.
I guess it stopped comparing.
It switched off. I don't know why that switched off, but it was running at 480 hertz, whereas it switched to this monitor. But so we're running at 480 frames per second on the top, and you can see the blur comparison with the lower refresh rate.
Yeah, down to 30 frames per second, and thus the problem that you might be encountering.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the
Again,
advantage
new
of-
standards.
Yeah, and this is the advantage of the 480 hertz for gaming, is that you would get less blur on the screen.
Those darn gamers, man, they want everything, but they get it.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other standard that we've launched at CES, so the third that we're launching this week, is the True Black 1000 display HDR standard. So in display HDR, we have these different performance levels for luminance levels, and we have a True Black, which is at this point unique to OLED. So we have finally achieved OLED screens at 1000 nits, which is absolutely incredible for content creators, because now you can do content creation on the go, creating HDR videos with this 1000 nit display laptop.
Now we really haven't had True Black.
We have had True Black, but the luminance level has been limited to 600. So this new OLED technology takes us to 1000 nits, which is exactly what you need for video content creation in HDR mode.
Yeah, I knew that. No, I did not. I had no clue. But now we know. And again, that's thus the importance of this organization, VESA.org. VESA or Visa or MasterCard,
VESA.
whatever, VESA, right, exactly. But VESA.org, of course, we'll also get you there when you visit intotomorrow.com, and you'll see our interview with Roland. Thank you very much for helping us out here and learning some cool new things. I'm loving the 2-in-1 monitor. I mean, those kind of standards are going to make a big difference for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It would be very cool. So we're back with more from Las Vegas, or Lost Wages, Nevada, if you prefer, when Into Tomorrow continues. From here, several weeks worth of coverage of CES 2025. I'm Dave Graveline. Stay tuned. Much more to come on the Advanced Media Network.